This is the second video that goes along with solving using trig. We're going to talk about this time solving for the angle. So what happens if we don't have the angle and we want to find the angle? I want you to make sure you're being very careful on these because sometimes students get confused between using Pythagorean theorem on this versus using trig. So remember Pythagorean theorem, we have two sides and we need the third side. When we're solving for the angle here, we're going to have two sides and we're going to need an angle. So the first thing you're going to do is circle the angle that you need to find or make an arc mark there. You're going to label the sides of the triangle just like before. We're still going to label them with an H, an O, and an A. And we're going to use SOHCAHTOA just like before to determine which relationship we need to use. And then we'll set up our equation and use Desmos to solve. Please make sure Desmos is in degrees. Remember, when we're putting Desmos into degrees, we're just going to click on the wrench and make sure degrees is highlighted. Okay. All right, so let's give it a shot. First thing I'm going to do is highlight the angle that I am looking for, which is right here. And then I'm going to set up my equation based off of that. So let me label with my O, H, and A. H is always across from the right angle. A is going to be between the given angle and our right angle. And then the angle across, the side across from the angle that is given, or your reference angle, is O. I'm going to write SOHCAHTOA at the top of my paper because I should always write it down. And then I'm going to choose my relationship. So let's see, I've got something on H, I've got something on A, and I'm missing my angle. So I've got A and H, which is cosine. So just like when setting it up for the sides, we're going to say cosine of our angle. But in this case, we don't have our angle. So it's going to be cosine of x is equal to our A, which is 8, over our H, which is 17. Now, you could type this into Desmos just like that, and it'll give you an answer. Now, remember, we have to be very careful when we do that because sometimes it will not let us zoom in. So I'm going to show you what is called the inverse. So to get rid of cosine, we have to use cosine inverse. And it just says cosine to the negative first power. And if we're taking this side to the negative first power, we're doing the same thing to this side. So this is going to say cosine inverse of this whole thing. And that will cancel out the cosines and get the x by itself. So we get x to equal cosine inverse of 8 over 17. Or you could type this in. And I feel like typing this in is going to be your better route because then you're not going to have to zoom in forever. But again, I'm going to show you both. So let's go to here and we're going to type in cosine inverse. So again, we're going to go to functions, cosine inverse of 8 divided by 17. If you're getting a negative number, most of the time that means you are in radians. So please make sure again that you are in degrees. And we're rounding to the nearest tenth here again, so we've got 61.9, and we're talking about angles. So this is degrees. So x is equal to 61.9 degrees, okay? Sometimes, like this one actually does, it says round your answers to the nearest degree. So if they say to the nearest degree, it actually means to the nearest whole number. So the 0.9 is going to round the 61 up, and it's going to become 62 degrees. Now let me show you what happens if you type in the relationship first. So we had cosine of x is equal to 8 divided by 17. All right, let me click back at home. Okay, I'm going to have to zoom out for a bit. And notice that I'm getting two answers. We only want the positive one, and I can't click on it. So I'm going to need to zoom in specifically to that one in order to see what that value is. As you can see, it's super close to 62. And if we are rounding to the nearest whole number, all I had to do was determine if it was 61 or 62. So here I would say it was 62. All right, let's try our next one. My angle here is down at the bottom. So across from the right angle gets H. Across from our reference angle, or between our reference angle and our right angle is A. And across from our reference angle, or our given angle, is O. And I'm going to write SOHCAHTOA. And then I'm going to circle my pieces. I've got stuff on O, I've got stuff on A. So O and A gives me tangent. So I'm going to say tan. I forgot to circle my angle, right? We're looking for that. So next to this is going to get an X because we don't have an angle value, is equal to 34 over 39. Again, we want to cancel out tan, so we're going to use tan inverse, or sorry, tangent inverse. Same thing over here. So those will cancel, and X is equal to tangent inverse of 34 over 39. Again, I think this is the better way to type it in because you'll get your answer every time versus having to zoom in. I'm going to show you both still. So tangent inverse of 34 divided by 39, we get 41.08, which we're rounding to the nearest whole number would just be 41. So let's try it just typing in our ratio. Right, I'm gonna have to zoom out. There it is. And see, it's not letting me click on it. So I've got to zoom in. And I can see it's really close to 41. So I'm gonna say 41. And then this is degrees because it's an angle. All right, let's try again. So we've got our given angle, or our reference angle, and we'll cross from our right angle is H. Between our given angle and our right angle is A. And across from our reference angle is O. I'm going to write out SOHCAHTOA. Okay, then I'm going to circle what I do have information on. I have information on H, I have information on O, and I've got my reference angle there that I don't know. So that is sine because it's O and H. So sine of our angle, which we don't know, so it is X, is equal to 16 over 19. And again, we're multiplying by sine inverse. So those will cancel, and X is equal to sine inverse of 16 over 19. So let's go to Desmos. $16 over $19. Okay, so we get 57.8 3, 6. Again, that's for rounding to the whole number. The 3 doesn't round up the 7, so it's going to be 57. But if I type in my ratio, zoom out a bit so I can find my line. There it is. And I'm going to zoom in because, again, it's not going to let me click. So I've got to zoom in till I can see what I'm rounding to. So notice I've got 57.4 there, so it's not rounding it up. So it'll stay at 57. If you have any further questions on finding sides or finding angles, please make sure you ask them in class.